How these NBA players went broke so quickly. Can you imagine someone making millions of dollars during his career and being broke just a couple of years after retiring? Well, it's a common sight when it comes to NBA players. The NBA is known to richly reward its stars. Thanks to million-dollar contracts, endorsement deals, and enterprising ventures, players make hundreds of millions of dollars. Despite all this money made, a lot of NBA players who make millions during their career later find themselves on the road with nothing to spare. All this because of their lifestyle, overindulgences, and bad investments. Eric Strickland, $13 million. No one would ever confuse Eric Strickland with Rod Strickland, since Eric had a journeyman 9-year career with 6 different teams. He made over $13 million in his career, but went broke due to the advice of a friend of a friend. Strickland was offered a real estate deal by that friend and had his father, who was also his business manager, check it out. It seemed like a good deal, so Strickland bought it. But the land wasn't worth anything close to what Strickland was told. "I had to take the hit," he says. "I wish my dad hadn't been put in that position. He just didn't have the knowledge." As for his friend of a friend, Strickland says the man secretly got a cut of the deal, which led to a falling out between the two. Delonte West, $16 million. Delonte West's journey from starring alongside LeBron James with the Cleveland Cavaliers to allegedly becoming homeless is one of the most tragic tales in league history. Wild rumors he slept with James's mother perhaps didn't extend his tenure in the land. West was a promising talent, drafted 24th overall in 2004. He made $16 million in career cash, but was released from the Dallas Mavericks in 2012 after a slew of legal troubles. By 2016, he was spotted walking around without shoes in the parking lot of a Houston area Jack-in-the-Box, looking haggard and dazed. In January 2020, a horrifying video emerged of an unconscious West being stomped in the streets of Washington, D.C. A witness told TMZ that West allegedly struck first with a glass bottle. He is thought to be homeless, with the former millionaire's net worth estimated at $1,000. Jason Caffey, $34 million. A recurring theme on this list is that many former NBA players reach dire financial straits due to owing child support. With 10 children from at least 8 different women, yeah, Jason Caffey, you are part of that group. Caffey was Dennis Rodman's backup during the second Bulls three-peat of the 1990s and made over $34 million during his career. After his career was over, Caffey was arrested for not paying child support. A judge dismissed his bankruptcy case because that would have opened the door for the 8 mothers of his 10 children to sue him for child support. "It's never that I didn't send child support," Caffey said when asked about his failures to pay child support. "It's just that I didn't send the amount that was said to be sent by the courts." Darius Miles, $62 million. Miles' 8-year stint in the NBA from 2000 to 2007 may have been largely so-and-so, but it was still enough to help him acquire a total of $61 million in career earnings. Such an amount would have ordinarily meant that the player was set for life, but this was not the case. Miles burnt through all of his money and declared bankruptcy with a total of $1.57 million in debt just 6 years after retiring. According to the man himself, the reason he went broke was not because he was living a luxurious life or had a drug or gambling addiction, but he rather attributes his downfall to investments that went wrong. Miles reportedly lost $100,000 in a 2008 California real estate deal that fell through. He also lost a substantial amount of money after an investment group he was part of got involved in a bad real estate deal in St. Louis, Missouri. Kenny Anderson, $63 million. Some consider Kenny Anderson to be the greatest New York prep player of all time, which is amazing considering who else hails from the Mecca of basketball. Anderson enjoyed a 14-year NBA career and made over $63 million in court earnings, but he filed for bankruptcy literally just weeks after his career ended in 2005. Failed marriages did him in, as one of his exes, Tammy Roman, appeared on VH1's Basketball Wives and proudly displayed the money she received in the divorce settlement by using the vanity license plate of his cash on her vehicle. After Anderson lost his job as a high school basketball coach due to a DUI in 2013, he began to turn his life around. Anderson detailed many of his struggles in a feature-length documentary, Mr. Chibbs, which was nominated at the Miami Film Festival for Best Documentary of 2017. Shawn Kemp, $92 million. The Rain Man was one of the NBA's most popular players during his time with the Seattle Supersonics. But after leaving Seattle in 1997, everything went downhill, both on and off the court for Kemp. He gained roughly 80 pounds during the NBA's lockout in 1998, and went from a perennial all-star to a bench player. He also was arrested multiple times for drug possession and fathered at least 7 children by at least 6 different women. Those child support payments would hurt the bank account of anyone, including someone like Kemp, who made nearly $92 million in his career. To make a little extra money, Kemp tried to mount a comeback in 2008, 5 years after his last NBA game. With no NBA team showing interest in the then 38-year-old, Kemp had to head overseas and joined Premiata Montegranaro in Italy. Antoine Walker, $108 million. A Chicago native, Antoine Walker had the opportunity to play pickup basketball games with Michael Jordan while he was still a teenager. But unlike Jordan, Walker's fortune didn't grow after he retired from the game. It did the exact opposite. Walker started his career with the Boston Celtics in 1996, was a 3-time All-Star and won a ring with the Miami Heat. But just a year after his last game in 2008, Walker was arrested for writing bad checks related to gambling debts. He owed 6 figures to multiple casinos, and by 2010, Walker, who made over $108 million in the NBA, filed for bankruptcy. A University of Kentucky teammate had to pay for Walker's bankruptcy attorney, and the former Wildcat had to auction off his NCAA championship ring. After 3 years of bankruptcy, Walker declared himself as debt-free in 2013, and since then, he's dedicated his time to sharing his story as a cautionary tale. Allen Iverson, $154 million. The only former MVP and Hall of Famer on this list, Allen Iverson was one of the most iconic players of all time. While Magic and Bird saved the NBA and Jordan brought commercialism to it, Iverson's swagger was a defining element of his popularity. He made over $154 million during his career, but seemed to blow it all since he couldn't pay back a jeweler nearly $860,000 in 2012, which forced a judge to take control of his bank account. Iverson would later refute reports of him being broke during an interview with CBS, and it appears that he was telling the truth, as the world would learn during his divorce proceedings. It was revealed that Iverson had a lifetime contract with Reebok that paid him $800,000 every year, in addition to a $32 million trust fund that is available when he turns 55 in 2030. However, as a result of the divorce, his ex-wife gets half the fund, so Iverson will collect $16 million when he hits double nickel. According to a Sports Illustrated report from 2009, an estimated 60% of NBA players go broke within 5 years of retirement. A decade later, that number is still the same, and it leaves fans with so many questions. How do you blow through tens and sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars? Have these guys never heard of financial advisors? And why haven't they learned from other players' past mistakes? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching the video.